Hello, Awesome Soul here, and welcome back to another Robocraft news video. But before I get into the news, some of you will remember a few videos back, I said that I had some recordings of me driving a car. Yes, a wheelbot. But of course, I said that I was absolutely god-awful at it. Well, I figured I would actually go ahead and show it off for you guys. It is not quite as bad as I originally thought it was, but it still has a lot of me failing miserably to get this thing to drive properly. But hey, that just kind of adds a bit of charm to it. So there you go, enjoy, I guess. With that out of the way, we can now go ahead and get into the news. But later on in the video, I do want to actually address some things that were brought up in the last video's comment section. But yes, the tidbit of news that is most likely going to be the title of this video is this tweet by Mark Simon saying, "Got VTOL." If you don't know what that stands for, it means vertical takeoff and landing. So, got VTOL working on the new aerofoils in my prototype. Camera controls working well too. Thinking they are going to be great. And then with the hashtag, make airplanes viable. Although funnily enough, it's not make airplanes viable again, it's just make them plain out viable. Which, they have been viable in the past, but they were never quite super prominent. I guess you could say drones have always sort of held their place at the top. So yeah, I'm very intrigued to see if they can actually be at least on par with drones and helicopters. Now, the whole VTOL aspect of this is very intriguing, because it could mean one of two things. Although possibly more, but I just think these two things are the most prominent. The first being that he has made it so they are a lot more stable. So with the help of other movement parts, you can much more easily stay in one place in the air and allow yourself to raise up and down. Again though, that's with the help of other movement parts. The other possibility, and the one that I actually hope is correct, is that we are getting a total rework, much like how the wheels got a rework. And this would mean that wings could have their own power source, and therefore that would also mean they could use this power source, aka a built-in thruster, to vertically take off and land. So you could go up and down and forward and presumably back as well with the power of this thruster built in to the wing. Because that has always been a pretty big problem when it comes to building flyers. You always had to strap on some other form of propulsion. And usually that meant a thruster or more recently a propeller as well. But yeah, let me know down below which of those two possibilities do you think is more likely, and which one would you personally want? I know there are actually people out there that don't want wings to have their own movement built in. Next up, we move on to a bit more information on something I covered previously, and that was the player-created maps that will eventually make their way into the game. They're not quite sure how they're going to do that whole system just yet, but this tweet here gives us a bit of insight, or at least a tiny bit of insight. And Rick here responds to a question about custom maps with, "It's in development. I was discussing a solution with the team today. We are trying to make it simple for you and for us when the maps come back." Presumably he means when they get sent to them, and then when they get sent to the actual game file. I don't know, it's a little confusing there, but I get the gist of it. So the main takeaway from this is that he has discussed it with the team today, so they're still definitely ongoing. It's not sort of pushed off to the side. It definitely seems like it's going to be a somewhat prominent feature, obviously due to the nature of it, at least for what sounds like version 1 of it. It's going to be more of a niche thing for only people who actually know how to use Unity community and make their own maps that way. So it's not exactly open to everyone. Even though it's really only skilled people who know what they're doing who are going to be using it. The next tweet we have could hint at some possible additions to the existing maps, although they might be somewhat minor. Rick says, I think we should add some ramps into key places on the level to get some serious airtime blasting action. Obviously, as you can see by the tweet there, is referring to wheels. Though it does seem like this could possibly be a little bit of a joke tweet. I'm honestly kind of preferring the maps as they are. And if they do add ramps, hopefully they would be natural ramps and not object-based ramps. Though I guess it really depends on which map. Some would suit object ramps a little better than others. Another tweet that is kind of, sort of a joke tweet, but also kind of not, is Rick replying to somebody's custom-made Mega Rail fan art. And here he says, I like it, but this part's important. I think if I were making a new Mega Rail, I would oversize it and give it more of a turret-sized structure, like the reference art image. And he posts just a simple tank cannon. Although it's a bit more than just a simple tank cannon. This is a rather large split barrel design. Personally, I think something like that would be a little bit too big and would make building pretty difficult, because the chain shredder is already difficult enough to build with, and that thing is humongous. So anything bigger than that would cause a lot of problems. Or not exactly problems, it would just limit the shape of your build considerably. But yeah, that's why I kind of think it's a little bit of a joke. I highly doubt we're gonna get something that large, especially because every other weapon of that size has a nominal count of 2. So something this big having to have 2 weapons to get max fire rate, I think might be a bit much. Or they could simply make an exception and just have a 1 gun fire rate max. I don't know. I want a Mega Rail, but I don't want something that big. The other bit about that tweet is the thing that I tried to point out in the beginning when I was saying, I think if I were making a new Mega Rail. So that could be him teasing a little bit, but it could also mean that he truthfully has not started work on the Mega Rail, at least the model for it, because he of course is the lead on the art team. Then again, it is just a size up of an existing part, so there wouldn't really need to be too much coding for it, because railguns are already a thing. But yeah, for now, I'm gonna take this as we won't be seeing a railgun mega variant too soon. Rick also has responded to more fan art, and this is a concept for a Tesla shooting weapon. Sort of like a Tesla buzzsaw. It does seem pretty cool, and he responds with, that's cool. Literally yesterday, we were talking about a Tesla blade projectile in the office. Ooh, very nice. Sounds very deadly. But for those who have been keeping up with the channel, we're not going to be getting too many new parts, at least for the little while. They do want to fix the game and iron out all the kinks, and then from that point, they'll start adding new things again. Though from the sounds of it, it seems like they're not super far away from going into full release, which is nice, especially considering they were in alpha for over 3 years. The beta period seems like it will be somewhat short. Hopefully, anyway. I also figured it would be kind of interesting to take a little bit of time out of the end of the video just to go over some of the comments I received on the last one. These are mainly pertaining to things people want to see added to custom games. So, IO Plays thinks that they should add auto heal, the ability to change gravity, EMP radius adjustment, and blink distance adjustment. What I would like to see added to that is basically adjustments for every other module as well. Like perhaps maybe a toggle for the Ghost module, so you could toggle it on or off, and if you have it off, it'll just be the way it normally is in the game. But if you have that toggle on, the player in Ghost mode will be completely invisible. Auto heal on and off, I'm pretty sure that is actually coming. The ability to change gravity though, I'm not entirely sure that will be coming to the game. Just because that would be a lot of work, I'm sure, because of the whole physics engine thing. They would have to go in and change a whole bunch of things around could be messy. So probably won't see that, but everything else I'm sure would be added at some point if there's enough community want for it. Next, we have a fire rate slider. So this would be actually pretty cool. I would also like to have this done on an individual basis. So maybe if you wanted to make the plasma fire super fast, but the rails fire super slow. And additionally, maybe you could bump up the rail's damage, so it would have a 10-second fired cooldown, but it would be pretty much an instant kill for some crazy game mode like that. I don't know. A power drain is also suggested, although it does seem like it's more of a concept, judging by what they have in the little brackets there. But a power drain thing would be pretty cool. Also ties into the last one. If you could do this on an individual basis, that could make for some really cool game modes. Like Plasma would drain the opponent's energy pool, but it would deal no damage. Of course, you could add this power drain effect to any weapon, so add it to lasers, or add it to every weapon in the game. Although that might be a bit weird, because that would kind of lead to everybody being out of power at all times. Unless, of course, you were in team fights and everybody tried to focus on one person? I don't know. But more options like that would be better, just because you might not think it's a good idea, but I'm sure one random person out there might use it for their perfect game mode, and they're looking for something just like it. Anyway, another one we have is that energy would only be used by modules. So I could see this being implemented as a power toggle for certain weapons. So maybe you could go double power usage on Plasma, or triple power usage on the Ghost module, or 0 power usage on the Ghost module and 0 power usage on Plasma, something like that. The next one isn't exactly a feature in the same sense as the other ones. This is more of a player count increase. So instead of a 5v5 like we have now, you could do 10v10s or 20 versus 20. I'm not entirely sure we could possibly go that high, but 10v10 has been shown to be possible. So hopefully at some point we do get something like that. And last up, we have a map size slider. So something to increase the size of maps. I don't see this happening for a lot of reasons, but what could be done in its place is let players use the old maps that aren't in the rotation for the main servers. And we could get crazy here too, like that Christmas map we had with the giant tree in the middle. I actually really liked that map, so I would be really pumped to actually have that back. I don't know, it was just basically Helion Impact Crater for those who remember, but with just a giant tree in the middle. And for whatever reason, that one thing changed up the map immensely, and it made it a lot more fun. So I really, really hope we actually get that map back. But are there any maps you would like to see come back? Let me know down below. And with that, I will go ahead and end the video here. I, of course, have been the Awesome Soul. I thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.